Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott, and you are in the Prog Corner where today, oh man, we are doing the Cardiacs, ranking their albums, and yeah, I mean, are Cardiacs even a prog band? Well, there is some debate about that. Yeah, the leader of the band, the great Tim Smith, doesn't think he's a prog band. He always claimed that they were more pop and psychedelic, and I do get a little tired of these people, these artists from Frank Zappa to Ian Anderson to Tom York, not wanting to admit you're prog. What's up with that? It makes me sad, but that's all right because we know the truth. We know who Cardiacs are. They were formed in 1977 by the brothers Jim and Tim Smith. They started out as Cardiac Arrest, put out a couple of cassettes early on, which were, kind of like more punk rock type of things. And slowly but surely, they turned into something amazing. Maybe a little something to do with a guy named William D. Drake joining the band. I don't know, but what do these guys sound like? Well, if you haven't heard Cardiacs before, man, I wrote down the bands that I kind of felt an influence from or by. And yeah, Frank Zappa, Gentle Giant, Madness, Devo, XTC, The Stranglers, Vandergraaf Generator, The Residents, The Cure, Captain Beefheart, Early Split Ends, Sex Pistols. Yeah, I hear all of that, man. So what do we classify this? If they're not prog, how about ZOLO PRONK? That's what we're calling Cardiacs, absolutely. So after they did those two cassettes, they put out 6 albums. Well, their third album was actually originally as a cassette, so it's a little convoluted, but they've got 8 albums more or less, a couple of really, really good EPs with some amazing material on there we're not going to look at. So we're just going to look at the 8 proper albums as classified by Prog Archives, and I'm starting at number 8, and wouldn't you know it is their first cassette. Came out in 1980. They were called Cardiac Arrest at this point, and the cassette was called The Obvious Identity. Lineup here was Jim and Tim Smith, Mark Cawthra on drums, Duncan Doylett, and Michael Pugh is on a couple of tracks here. It's really, really badly produced, man. This thing is really hard to listen to. There are a couple of good songs. Visiting Hours is on here, and they played that live a whole bunch. And the final track, Balloon for Birdie's Party, the 8-minute track, is just kind of bonkers. But this is a really hard thing to listen to. And really just for super fans and completists only, I guess. Next up at number 7, I'm going with their second cassette. Came out in 1981. It's called Toy World. And it is an improvement. The sonics aren't a whole lot better, but some of the songs are better on here. You can definitely hear there's something great underneath all the distortion and tape hiss, and songs like Is This the Life finds their first life on here. Nurses Whispering Verses finds its first expression here on this cassette. Over and Over and Over is on here. So the songs are there. They just hadn't quite figured out their lineup yet. They hadn't quite figured out, what they wanted to do when they grow up. Here we got Sarah showing up here. She's Sarah Cutts. She'd soon be Sarah Smith. Mark Cawthra is still in the band, and Colvin Myers is on a couple of tracks here. It's not bad. It's decent. It's, again, just really badly produced. And here we go. These are the ones that really get me going. At number 6, it's their final album from 1999 called Guns. Yeah, the band had gone through some changes before their previous album. But this album does not get any credit at all from Cardiacs fans. It is a little different. It's not quite as herky-jerky and frenetic going on. The lineup here is Tim and Jim and Sarah, John Poole, and Bob Leith. They got a couple guest singers, Sharon Saddington and Joanne Spratley's on here. But there are some actually good songs on here, man. And if you didn't give Guns enough of a try, I implore you to listen to this record again, because songs like There's Good Cud, that's a great track, man. Cry Wet, Smile Dry, I love it. Clean That Evil Mud Out of Your Soul, that's a great track. Will Bleed, Amen, I love it. Signs, good songs. They just not quite like what we expect from Cardiacs. Apparently they were working on a final album called LSD. and Tim got really, really sick, and it never happened. He left us in 2020, by the way. R.I.P. to the great Tim Smith. At number 5, probably their most underrated album, I'm going with Heaven Born Never Bright from 1992. This was, the album where you've got Tim and Jim, Dominic Luckman, and John Pools in the band at this point. Sarah's on 6 or 7 songs, I think, on here, and William D. Drake shows up on 1 track. There's no Tim K here, so he'd left the band. So a lot of changes in the band at this point. This album felt a little heavier, like maybe metal at times, kind of weird. Without William D. Drake all over the place, guitars certainly are more of a feature here, and without Sarah on every track, you don't get all the crazy tenor sax all over the place, but there are some great songs on here. Anything I Can't Eat, one of the classic Cardiac songs. Goodbye Grace, I love it. Really, really underrated album, man. It never got the credit it was deserved. I think maybe because it was on Rough Trade, and like a good week or 2 after the album came out, Rough Trade went bankrupt, so that probably didn't help at all. At number 4, let's talk about their first real record. Even though originally it came out on cassette, it's called The Seaside from 1983. And talk about an improvement over those first 2 cassettes. It's like a whole different band here, man. Even though William D. Drake's only on 3 songs here, his influence is all over the place here. So you got Tim, Jim, and Sarah Smith. You've got Tim K and Dominic Luckman on drums. This is his first album on drums, and definitely an improvement over the guy they had on those cassettes for sure. But it's the songs on here, man. Oh, man, I love this album. Any other band, this would probably be their best album, man. Gibber and Twitch, Gina Lola Brigida, come on, man. R.E.S., a song so good that they'd do it again. And that's something that, Cardiacs had a whole bunch of. If they had a song that they did, they'd, redo it over and over and over. The original cassette version of this album had Nurses on it, Whispering Verses, Is This the Life, Little Man in the House, all songs that, popped up on other records. But man, the Seaside, so great, so amazing. This is where that Cardiac sound starts, and it's so much fun. It's so energetic, just amazing. What a great album at number 3. How is this at number 3? A Little Man in a House and the Whole World Window from 1988. How is this at number 3, man? This is insane. This album has nothing but classics, man. It is so good. A Little Man in a House shows up again here. In a City Lining. Wow, I love that track. It's so cool hearing Cardiacs kind of pretend like they're a normal band for a minute. Speaking of which, Is This the Life is certainly the perfect example of that. That actually got some airplay. I remember seeing it on MTV back in the day. That was so weird seeing those cats on MTV. Icing on the World, what an amazing track. R.E.S. again, a little better version, a little cleaner. One of my favorite Cardiac songs, so I don't mind it being on 2 albums in a row. And then Dive is on this album. Oh, this album's perfect. I love it. It's amazing. It's 10 out of 10, as is the next one at number 2. I'm going with On Land and in the Sea from 1989. For years and years, this was my favorite Cardiacs album. I just love this thing to pieces. I think it's absolutely perfect. The lineup here is the perfect lineup where you've got Tim, Jim, and Sarah Smith. You've got William D. Drake, Tim Key, and Dominic Luckman. That's the lineup right there, man. And this album is so amazing. 2 Bites of Cherry starts the album out with your typical, frenetic, crazy Cardiac stuff going on. The Duck and Roger the Horse, one of my favorite tracks ever. Leader of the Starry Skies. Oh, what a beautiful, gorgeous melody. One thing about Cardiacs, in spite of all the craziness and the weird time signatures and the horn blasts and all this crazy stuff going on left and right coming at you from every single direction, there was always a good melody, man. These guys always had hooks. Fast Robert, I love that track. The album closes with the Ever So Closely Guarded Line, which is amazing, an 8-minute track. What a great album. How is this not their best album? Well, you know how it's not their best album. Because in 1996, they dropped a little double album called Sing to God, man. And it is my favorite Cardiacs album. It took a while for me to get there because it is sprawling. I mean, it's 89 minutes, 22 songs. A lot of these things are just crazy, but it's not quite as frenetic as their earlier stuff. William D. Drake's not here, so what you got is Tim and Jim Smith. John Poole's in the band at this point, and Bob Leith on drums. But you've got guests and stuff. Sarah shows up on a couple of tracks. Eden up in the air. Wow, what a great song. What a great way to start an album. Dog Like Sparky. I love that track. But to me, this album really starts taking off when you get to Fiery Gun Hand. Oh, I just did a video a couple months ago about my favorite guitar solos of all time. And how did I leave that one out, man? Just incredible, man. Oh, so good. I'm guessing that's Tim and not John Poole there. But wow, what a crazy solo, man. A Horse's Tail. Dirty Boy starts off disc 2 in crazed fashion. You get a extended version of Nurses Whispering Verses with like the third version of that song. The album ends with Foundling. And, by the end, I'm just thinking, maybe Sing to God is a bit too much, and it took me a while to really understand what was going on here, because I thought maybe, like a lot of people, feel like about Tales or The Lamb, that maybe it should have been slimmed down and turned into a single album. Poppycock to that, man. Sing to God is perfect. It's 10 out of 10. It's my favorite Cardiacs album. I love it. I love Cardiacs. Anyway, guys, this Sunday on the Sunday Prog Stream, man, we're doing the Mount Rushmore of prog rock vocalists. It's going to be an absolutely amazing show. I can't wait to talk about all the great singers that prog rock has graced us with over the years. And as always, don't forget Sunday at noon. Friday at noon. What am I even talking about here, man? If I liked editing videos, that would have been edited out. But yeah, Friday at noon, man. Prog Radio. It's the Prog Corner playlist where Kevin plays all the songs I've been talking about all week on the channel. But I'm too afraid to, I'm a little scaredy cat, man. I don't want to get demonetized, or I don't want copyright strikes. I don't want any of that stuff. So Kevin plays all the stuff, so I don't have to. Anyway, that's at noon Eastern on Friday. Anyway, guys, I love you. Peace in the Middle East. Free Tibet, and God save the king. Save King Chucky. Chucky needs your saving right now. That boy's got the cancer, so bring him to America. Let him swim to America, and then we'll lay some hands on that boy. Yes, we will. We'll lay some hands, and we'll do some spells and incantations. Check it out, man. Our prayer warriors are working overtime 24/7, and we're going to do what we need to do to get that boy right, but it's all going to be all right once we dance with those snakes. Oh, yeah, we're going to dance with snakes, and King Chucky the Third will be all right. I'll see you punks Sunday.